guys, welcome back. So today I want to talk to you about brute forcing subdomains and just how easy it is to actually pull this off when you have a tool like WFuzz. Now this tool can do all kinds of different things, but I'm just going to show you one simple use case, which is to try to enumerate subdomains of a given target. So for example, let's say you have yahoo.com, right? And I'm picking on Yahoo because they're actually a part of a public bug bounty program that anybody can be a part of here. If you go to HackerOne, you could sign up for a HackerOne account and then participate in the open bug bounty program. So we're not going to get in trouble for actually doing what we're doing today because we have permission to. And that's one thing I want to mention here. If you don't have permission to perform this attack or any of the attacks that I show on my channel, then this is not something that you can go out and practice on your own. So, but the idea behind this attack is www is like one of the default subdomains, right? But what if we wanted to figure out like some other subdomains that might belong to yahoo.com? This could be beneficial because, especially if we're part of a bug bounty program, we might want to try to enumerate or find bugs in a website that Yahoo owns, but isn't like their main homepage, right? It could be much easier to try to find a bug in something that not everybody else is looking at. So this is awesome. It's an awesome open sort of, I guess technically it's active recon that we're about to perform, but it's something that's definitely useful to have in your skill set. So www can be replaced with something like mail.yahoo. If we press enter on this, okay, cool. We see we got redirected to login. What if we tried like games.yahoo.com? That redirects to the home page, right? So what if we wanted to try another one, and we can just keep trying different ones? And as you can guess, this process becomes super tedious, right? Having to do it manually, and that's when a tool like WFuzz can come in and help automate the process for us. So I'm going to use this particular word list that is provided from Daniel's SecList project, which you can check out on GitHub if you haven't already. It's basically just a bunch of word lists that you can use for all different kinds of things. And they're really, really good. But this list in particular is the one I'm going to use because it has just thousands of different subdomains in here that are very, very common to be seen across many different websites. So we're going to take this word list and we're going to go ahead and run our attack. So I'm just going to copy this because I've already got the syntax all built out. When I go to paste this, it's going to give me an error because I had an enter at the end of it. But now we can see that it's going to use -c, that's for color output. It's going to go ahead and dump all of our results out to this subfighter.txt file. We're going to be using that word list that I mentioned before. If you don't have that word list, you could literally go out to his GitHub, do a git clone, and then whatever the URL is right here for that project, for that repo. I like to put mine here instead of the user share SecList. You might even actually be able to do like a sudo apt install SecList. I don't know if that's true. I could be making that up, but I'm pretty sure it's true. Yeah, there's a version in the Kali repo, so you can just run this command, and that'll go ahead and download and install this for you. But once you have that word list, you'll go in and specify it here. And then I like to specify all of these different response codes. These are the different responses the web server is going to reply with. Like a 200 or a 301 redirect or like a 404 not found. Notice how I still want to see a 403 error because that's forbidden, but I don't care about seeing a 404 because I only am interested in looking at pages that are actually up and valid that obviously are found. So finally, we're just going to specify the target. So I'm going to do this both in HTTP and HTTPS. Sometimes you get different results. So I'm going to specify just HTTP first, and I'll show you is like yahoo.com is our target, right? But we want to brute force subdomains, so like www or like mail, right? So to do that, you just specify the word fuzz in all caps. And that tells WFuzz anytime you see this fuzz word, go ahead and replace that with a word out of our dictionary file. So now if I press enter, it's just going to go through and it's going to start enumerating all this. I'll close this one out. So it's just enumerating all those subdomains that it can. And notice how I'm going to kill this because most of these are returning with some sort of 301 redirect, which is okay. I could go down that rabbit hole and look at each redirect. But when we did our enumeration earlier, we saw that most of the time, or at least in the example I had with games, it redirected back to the home page. So I'm not really interested in seeing those redirects. So if I clear this all out, I can rerun my command, but this time I'll get rid of that 301 response code, and we'll press enter here. And now it's going to go through and it's just going to brute force anything that it can find that's not a 301. And while it does that, let's take a look here. We've got this subfighter.txt. Oh, sorry, I gotta cat this out. That's what I want to do. There's no contents in it at the moment, which is perfectly fine. So then you might come across something like this often, where like a weird subdomain in the list kind of holds up your command and it like halts the attack. I found that it's just best to just wait it out. Usually the tool will just kind of chew through that here after a few minutes. But while we wait for that, I'm actually going to rerun this command, and this time I'm going to specify, clear this out. I'm going to specify HTTPS because we'll get different results sometimes when you actually use HTTPS versus just using HTTP. Sometimes people will leave websites up running on port 80 that they don't realize are up. Like I've seen before in a real assessment where I was trying to enumerate just different web subdomains that might be up and active, and it existed in HTTP but did not exist in HTTPS, and it ended up being like a practice like dev site that they didn't mean to be live, but because I ran this attack with both different options, I was able to find it, and that later helped me out. So I'm going to say subfighter HTTP. We know the one that doesn't have that is going to be the HTTPS. Oh, actually, sorry, this one needs to be HTTPS because the first one we ran was without HTTPS. So we'll run that. I'll specify my password here, and we're off. So let's give this some time to actually run through. It could take a while to finish. So we'll let that run in the background. And while that's running, I just want to go in and start talking about the next phase of subdomain enumeration that I like to take, and that's using a tool called Aquatone. If you just go out to GitHub, you can download this. We'll just search GitHub Aquatone. And you'll get this first result here at the top where you've got everything you need to actually go out and download this file or build it from source code. But essentially what it's going to do is it's going to go out to each one of those URLs that we provide, and it's going to hit it on a few different ports, port 80, 443, I think it even goes out on 8080 and another one. And you can specify what ports you want it to go out and take a look at. And then it'll just tell you if that subdomain that you provided or if that URL that you provided is well first live. But it'll also like take a screenshot of it and it'll try to enumerate details about the title and what technologies are running. And so it provides a report at the end of it that basically allows you to go to this report using a web browser, and you've got all these different details, and it makes it really easy for you to identify what website you want to look at first. So I like to download this. You can actually come here into the latest release link and download pre-compiled binaries. I've already downloaded, I believe I got this one here at the top. And then I put it in my my user bin directory. Like if I come in here and say user bin, we can just grep for Aqua. And you can see I put this Aquatone binary right inside of user bin. So if I run like which Aquatone, it'll tell me that it's going to execute that one. So I can literally just type Aquatone at this point, and now the tool started. And we're not providing it anything, so I went ahead and killed it. But this might be something you want to do if you're going to use this tool all the time like I do. The other thing you can do is just like throw it in your op directory and then copy it down to your present working directory whenever you want to use it. But basically, let's go take a look at our subdomain enumeration, and everything's still running. I don't believe, if we were to list out here, I don't believe there's going to be any contents of the subfighter. Let's just cat everything that ends in .txt. Yeah, so we don't actually have anything here inside of our documents yet. I don't know if I were to kill this, if it's going to automatically write to it, or if it's going to interrupt the whole process. So I'm going to kill one of them just to see what happens. And then now if we would list out, let's see if we can cat anything.txt. And we do get results. So that's perfect. I'm going to go back. Let's run this cat command again. So what we want to do is actually clean this text up a bit. We want to make sure that we can pull out the details of each one of these items here and then be able to have like password.yahoo.com, mirrors.yahoo.com. So to start, let's just go ahead and cat out all of our contents for any text file we have in here in case that other command finished running. So we'll cat out these two text files, and then we'll go ahead and pipe this over to a command called cut. And what this will allow us to do is specify a delimiter with a D, and we could say that our delimiter here is going to be this double quote symbol. And so usually when you specify a delimiter, you would put it between two double quotes. So let's say our delimiter was a comma, right? If we were dealing with like a CSV file and we wanted to cut out a certain field um, by specifying the comma as a delimiter, or maybe like a colon is something you might see often. But in our case, we need a double quote. So I'll throw a double quote in there, but we need to actually escape that character so that way our bash shell knows that we're saying use this as our delimiter here. So once we've got that, then we just specify what field position we want. So like field position 1 would be, well, if this is the very first double quote, then all of this would be field position 1. And then field position 2 would be between this and then the second double quote. So that would be selected. Field position 3 would be between this and the next double quote. So all of that would be selected, right? So it looks like field position 2 is what we want. So I'm just going to hit enter. And yep, it does look like we got this correct. So Miami, Korea, courses, Seattle, these are all the different subdomains that we're after. So I'm going to start by just throwing this quickly into a like a temp.txt folder. And actually, let's go ahead and sort it uniquely first. So that way we've got that. And then I'll go ahead and run this again into like temp.txt for just a moment. So now if we go in here, we can edit this temp.txt. And I'm using VI. You can use whatever you want. And we need to actually remove some of these lines, right? Like that was just part of the output. So I'll use D twice. Filtered requests, this is part of the output. So I'll get rid of those. And let's just go through, make sure that we don't have any other output in here. And I'm sure that there's better ways to do all what I'm about to do, but still, doing it this way is much more efficient than trying to do it all manually anyway. So it looks like, all right, cool. So it looks like we got everything. So the next thing that we actually want to do is to add .yahoo.com to each one of these lines, right? Well, the easiest way to do that, if you're using VI, you can actually just type this out, and I am no good. I think it's using sed, and I'm no good with sed, but I do know that I can Google how to do this and copy what other people are doing. So if you look down here in the corner, if I were to type that whole thing out and press enter, that's going to add a comma here to the end of each one of these lines. So I'm going to instead do .yahoo.com. Now if I press enter, it went ahead and for each line it added that .yahoo.com, which is perfect. And then I'm just going to go ahead and write these changes here. So now if we were to cat out this temp.txt file, we've got all these different domain names that we can go and take a look at. So the cool thing is we can now cat that, and let's just pipe it straight into that tool that I was talking about earlier called Aquatone. And just in case, I will go ahead and run this as sudo just to make sure that it's elevated if it needs it. Specify my password here. And that tool started. And we're off, right? So check this out. We're getting all these different results as it goes out to each one of these subdomains on the handful of ports that it likes to use on run. And if I just go ahead and come up, see if I can scroll up here. I'm curious if it'll tell us what ports it's checking on. Sometimes it will, yeah. So we've got ports 80, 443, 8000, 8080, and 8443. So these are all the default settings. It's going to use 4 threads by default. We could go out and actually read the help documentation on this, and we'd be able to get a better idea as far as like what all we can do with Aquatone, right? How far can we customize this? But I'm just going to let this run. It'll probably take a while to take all these screenshots, so I'll pause the video here, and then I'll see you here in just a minute. Okay, so here we are a few minutes later, and it looks like that everything finished. It gives us some awesome output here to say that majority of these were successful, and it also shows that we had over 100 screenshots taken. So this is awesome. Finally, it tells us we've got this Aquatone report file that's available. So if I were to list out the contents here, we can see it did create a handful of files, but if we go into, I believe, this HTML directory, that's probably not what we want. Let's see, was there, oh, right there, Aquatone report. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to say Python, and we'll have to do sudo python -m simple HTTP server port 80. So that's going to run that, and then we'll be able to actually open up a file browser here. And we can go out to 127.0.0.1. I've got to turn burp off. Port 80. And we've got all those different files. Let's go look at our report. And check this out. I'll try to zoom in a bit so you can actually see it. But now we can see just right here on this one page, we've got groups.yahoo.com, and looks like, well, we've got a screenshot of the page. So we could see different information about what technologies that it's running. We can see this is research.yahoo.com. We can keep coming down. Here's autos.yahoo.com and sports. And so this just gives you a way to kind of scroll through everything, take a look at the screenshot, and give you an idea as to, hey, is this worth looking at? So check this one out. Go.yahoo returns this Google error. That's kind of interesting. Maybe I'd want to dive deeper into that as part of like the bug bounty program. HK.yahoo looks like that might be Hong Kong, would be my guess. Boss.yahoo, right? And so what I typically look for is I look for any interesting like weird error pages, or maybe I look for like login pages, like this right here, vendor.yahoo. So we're able to easily find some login pages. Now I can go test for like SQL injection or cross-site scripting or any sort of vulnerability that I want to look for. And it's just a good way to kind of easily start your enumeration. So it's an awesome tool. I'd recommend doing this anytime that you get a list of domains. I mean, even if you do let's say you're on an internal network assessment and you've got a list of different web servers from an Nmap scan, you can use Aquatone to go out and take a screenshot of each of those web servers, and you'll know exactly, okay, well, this is the target I want to look at first. Oh, these are ESXi, or that's a printer. And you don't have to actually go and do it all manual. You can just get an idea through this report which websites you want to look at. So that's it for this video. I hope this was something of interest to you. And if you enjoy this type of content, please let me know. I would love to hear from you. So leaving comments, hitting the subscribe button, engaging with me, either on some sort of live stream or something like that would be awesome. So anyway, till next time, I will see you guys in the next video.